All right. Hi and welcome. We'd like to welcome the audience and thank you for attending. Viewers may watch Board of Education meetings and board committee meetings usually live online at tcaps.net/board, but we are recording currently and they will be posted to the website and you can watch it anytime. Recorded meetings may be viewed on demand at the same address. Does not look like we have any public comment.
None.
All right, so we're moving on to procedural items, draft committee meeting minutes from February 29th. And do we have any updates or corrections? If none, they will stand as posted. Moving on to the social host responsibility proclamation resolution. Dr. Van Wagner.
Okay, so as we talked about at the board meeting, we had some edits from Beth, and I know we have some edits as well from Holly with it. So I know Connie's been working with. So Connie, any additional comments?
The
ahead,
one
Steve.
that's in your packets right now is a combination of Beth and Holly's edits.
Okay.
The one that's in the packet that's on your desk.
All right, thank you.
It's on my desk.
So couple ways we can do it, I mean, we can, it may make sense just to push it to the whole board as a discussion item and kind of hash out what's there from that standpoint. I mean, otherwise you're gonna probably do it twice, at that point, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
No.
So we have it, we've combined the edits and that thought, and so I think that both were just additions from that element. So my advice would be just to pass it on and make it as a discussion item on the agenda and move forward from that standpoint. And that, you recommend it, but just want to make sure that nobody else has any edits.
Excellent. And everyone else has access to this.
They have not received the edits from.
But will tomorrow,
Yeah,
right?
tomorrow in the packet for the board meeting they will. It just got finished like about 2:00 this afternoon.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm good with that. Move it to discussion.
The only thing I do is that alcohol, I'd get rid of that capital A, but that's such a technical thing.
Yeah.
It's a minor thing. And I don't know if the little definition should actually be behind in that first whereas as opposed to in the second. I don't know, but again, that's very minor. But yeah.
Okay, we'll go ahead and
covers a
take that
lot of,
and push that on and have the discussion at the board meeting. Okay?
All right, thank you.
easy.
Next item, staff appreciation special recognition, May 6th through 10. Dr. Van Wagner?
Yeah, so we have the time of the year where we have the recognition for all of our staff. You might know, especially anymore, there's so many weeks and so many different appreciations that oftentimes we try and catch everybody, from that standpoint. And so we have that opportunity to be able to share that with our community. And so we are asking for that recognition to be approved by the board and actually read at the board meeting, for that May 6th through 10th period.
That's good.
Board of Education Recording Secretary. Shifting gears here.
Yep, so this is a element, so now Megan is, right,
Right now, she's the board recording secretary,
Right.
so since I will be starting as of the 8th.
we'll need to have the board actually take that action.
to send. It's the same action we take usually at an organizational meeting. It's basically the same memo, just renaming,
So then that's an action item on
discussion, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, now the agenda review for the April 8th Board of Education meeting and April 22nd study session.
Yeah, so let me get to it here. Okay, so let's get with the board meeting. So we have our call to order pledge, our review of the agenda. We do have our next round of TCAPS Compass Awards. So I know those have gone out, and I don't know if we've confirmed people yet as far as for it. Have we?
Yeah, some, not all.
Yep. So we'll have some of those folks from each of our employee groups that'll be recognized at our board meeting. So that's always exciting. We will have our first public comment of a legislative update, really getting interesting financially in Lansing. There's a big kind of debate that's starting about the governor's proposal for universal preschool. But what we've kind of learned in the funding way that they've done that is they're doing it on the backs of the money that we put in for retirement. And what we've learned is that not as much is needed for us to fully fund the retirement anymore. It's actually, the retirement system is built into two pots we understand is a healthcare fund and then a pension fund. Well, for historically, both funds have been underfunded at about 60% of what, of the true need. Well, we've learned that the healthcare one is actually above 100%. And so, at one time it was believed it was all one and that the money would have to go in. Well, it turns out it doesn't. So what the governor is saying is, well, let's continue to do what we regularly do here, but what we do here, let's not do that anymore. Let's put that into universal preschool. The problem is it's a legacy cost for us. Every 21 cents of every payroll dollar we have to send back to the state. If we didn't have to do that and this money was not put towards that, only 15 cents of every dollar would we have to send to the state. So for us, overall, in the end, our firm that does our advocating in Lansing sent it to me is $4.5 million a year. And so that's a lot, right? And the problem is that, there is a political debate about spending money for preschool for people that make over $200,000 a year. There's thought about the people that can't afford and are and low economic thresholds. That's what it's been, and it's actually been doubled over. I want to say I'm probably wrong on this number, but it's like 300% of the lowest amount at one time it was for low income. Well, what she's trying to say is let's just open up to everybody. And our problem is that we actually, with this past year, we've had a 7th classroom we never filled. We didn't have enough kids. And so if it was opened up the income threshold more, would we get some more? We think, yeah. But we don't think a lot. In our area, there's a lot of private daycare that people do or stay at home or, that's done maybe through churches or whatever in that element. And so the debate you kind of have there is, I think that there's, a conversation to have about maybe expanding it a little bit more, but to do a full blown out amount on the backs of the kids, the other kids, that money could go towards for more teachers, for those elements. I think that's the real debate, and it's starting to happen in Lansing right now. There's a real conversation about, okay, maybe we do some here, but to go all out here and put this in that may not even get spent when we're only getting a 2 to 2.5% raise, it's not even close to inflationary and all the costs we have, to say, we're going to keep your money that you keep from legacy costs. And by the way, in the future, it doesn't change that. We're having a hard time with. So that's really the debate that's starting to now happen as the budget's starting to go through and see where the governor, she's going to absolutely insist, or where the legislature. So we have some ideas, and so we're going to try and reach out to our local legislative group and have some conversations about, none of us are against having kids in preschool. I think it's a good idea. But, not to a point where it benefits mostly Metro Detroit area, in that element. And because the other part is finding enough preschool teachers. We can't find enough that in early childhood to do what we already do. And now you're going to try and expand this, we just think that maybe there's a next step here, but also give us some of that liability, that we're of legacy costs back to actually be able to not have to have a deficit budget. I mean, if you've seen in the news, Ann Arbor's $25 million right now in the red for their next year's budget. They're anticipating laying off like 250 people. Now that the federal government's gone, as Beth has said many times, once the money's gone, the federal get dollars, right? That what's going to happen? Well, here's a chance to keep it sustained of what we actually do and not have us spend so much, of that back to the state. So it's going to be interesting.
And that discussion actually could be extended in some measure to school lunches and breakfasts.
But that money,
That-
yeah,
it won't
yeah.
happen, but
Agreed.
it's-
But that has been an argument.
also be
There has been an
extended to
argument
that.
about that of why are we subsidizing when others can afford $1 million? Person who makes $1 million sends their kid to school. You know, that it's, you're right. It's a little bit of the same argument in that way. But I can live with the food part, you know, but, you know, the other, I'm kind of like, you know, it's doing it on the backs of money we have to give them that is already. I remember a day when it was 5% of 5 cents of every payroll dollar, you know, that we were doing. And it wasn't that long ago, and so we've been paying. You know, it's actually in the 30%, but the state has bought it down. And here's a chance to actually make a permanent cut in it. Do that. So, we'll see. We'll see.
The state is a very hungry animal.
Well, we're hoping that we can get them to let us keep a little bit more.
I
So.
like that. That idea.
And then we'll have a lot of district highlights, a lot of great things going on around the district. Especially robotics is headed to states this weekend. So then we'll have our curriculum reports. We will have our consent agenda. We did have today the in curriculum. We did have added. Originally, we had a point that was for our elementary social studies. We did have finance asked to have that become a discussion item. And I think it's just a little bit to talk a little bit more about making sure there's some things there, extra supplemental. I don't know it's about this issue itself, but a general conversation. And then we have our capital projects for the restroom that was forwarded on for consent by the finance committee today. And then a transportation vehicle that's a plumbing truck that doesn't have a box, and so it's a very special purchase, and that was bid out and the low bidder. So then we have again that designation of the board recording secretary, as we've talked about, field trip requests that are there, meeting minutes. We will have a school safety update, social host responsibilities we've talked about, as well as the staff appreciation. We have, this is the social studies now that she has updated, is on that discussion item. Public comment number 2, and then we do have a closed session for superintendent quarterly evaluation. We'll let the committee know it right now. Normally, I have the update of all of our updates to the strategic plan with all the network and everything down. Nobody's been able to do that, so I am going to just have a discussion with the board, but if the board wants a copy of the update later after, I plan on, once we get the chance to update that, passing that to the board. Closing remarks and adjournment. I do have one additional item under my superintendent's report. I do want to let you know that we did have, as you saw maybe in the paper, and as I've informed you before, that Bertha Voss, the company that had submitted the offer, has withdrawn it. And we have returned their deposit money and that. However, we do have, I talked with Scott today from Coldwell Banker Real Estate, and so Scott Hardy said that there is one of the original folks that had submitted an offer has resubmitted it and really looking at it. So, you know, I think I have some thoughts on it that I want to bring to the board, and I don't think it really will take board action. So I'm going to make sure to forward it to the board here. I just received really yesterday. I'll get it to you guys for over the weekend, but I've got some ideas, and so I'm going to ask for the board to give me some opportunity to work with Scott to maybe talk to some of the people that are interested in this. We've got some philanthropy that has talked to us a little bit. So I'll expand a little bit more on that maybe Monday. Scott's going to be here. So I think during my superintendent's report, I'm going to ask him to kind of team with me and then talk to the board about some strategy that I think could be a win-win for the neighborhood there, for the community, and for the district. And so I'll have a little bit more info and be able to share that Monday night.
So that's added to your superintendent's report.
That is correct. It could end up as a discussion item, but I don't think we're going to need it, but we'll see where the board wants to go for sure.
And
And
so-
it would have to be added after the fact as an addendum to the agenda if that's the case.
So, okay, all right, then does the recording secretary, I thought we were going to make that an action item, but it's under consent right now. So is that just,
It's really a procedural thing.
so it's
mean,
just
you
a
know,
rubber stamp? It's
Yeah,
just-
I mean, unless you
Gotcha.
don't want Stacy to take notes,
No, please. Please
I
take
know,
notes.
I don't
All right,
have
next
really
th-
anybody else, so. I'm not very good at
add that
it,
to
so.
your-
Right, I'm not very good at it, so I'd appreciate if that was just strongly considered.
I have a question, and it probably is off procedure somehow. But the field trip request, wouldn't West also be requesting
But, not,
Houston?
they take a little bit different philosophy on it. Some want to get it approved just in anticipating they're going to make it. And others are like, well, we just don't want to get anybody excited or anything if some reason we don't. So remember that they're two separate entities, two separate schools. And so sometimes philosophically they go about it a little different. And I try and unify the buildings as much as I possibly can to be the same, but people have their different little nuances that sometimes is not enough neither one are wrong. And so if they make it, I'm sure that, we'll have a request from them right away, right after this weekend.
Okay.
And if some reason the others don't, well, then they're like, well, we requested, didn't really need it, but we did anyway. So it's the best answer I can give you. They're people and they're a little bit different.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. I've seen different people too.
Yep.
All right, you want to go over the agenda for the special session, study
will.
session?
I will. And so, with that, we have pretty standard, our call to order, pledge, our agenda, approval, public comment, consent, which will have essentially the meetings from the April 8th I just talked about. And then our study session, so elementary student achievement. They've been working on this. We did get some feedback from 2 board members, and they're working to incorporate, remember, this is just going to be elementary. And so having some data, and, we are a little bit at this whole week here, we've been a little struggling now, and so they're gonna do what they can. There may be some things after the board still doesn't see that they will work at getting afterwards. But they're gonna do their best they can. It's not gonna have everything that both of you, the board members ask. But we're gonna look, and if there's something that's not there, we're not able to present from a data standpoint, we're gonna work to get that for you after.
Will we get it before the study session, you
We're
think?
gonna try what we can.
know, I
We're
know.
gonna try what we can, but like I said, they've had this whole week here of when a lot of that was starting to meet, that's just been completely, and there's a couple other events that have happened even today that has struggled for them to be able to access anything or do anything, so I'm just asking for a little bit of grace. We're gonna do what we can, and then even after, we'll make sure, there's gonna be some questions of the data, we'll get you guys, so. But it has been looked at and known, and know that that's what the board's looking for, some members, and so we're gonna work at those continuously. And then obviously, once we hit the middle school one, we'll be looking the same, and then the high school the same. So you won't see, for instance, high school, like PSAT scores or anything in this session. You're gonna see strictly that elementary breakdown.
That makes sense.
Yep, so, okay?
All right, excellent, thank you.
I wanted to mention too, West did actually get approval for their robotics in January.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
There you go. See, they were even way ahead of
They're
you.
thinking way ahead.
Well, they got special recognition.
They did, and they're just,
Yeah.
I think they're just a little bit more,
And Dan sat behind me in the
Yeah.
stands, so yeah.
there you go, maybe, so, but my rationale is still the same, so.
Okay, I'll trust you on that
Yep.
one for sure.
Okay, thank you for those reviews of the agendas. Moving on to informational items, human resources, Connie Taylor.
Thank you. So just as in terms of staffing, we were having this like mad rush of retirement and resignations, and we've been pretty stable over the last month. So we're kind of holding steady from the numbers that we reported at our last executive committee meeting. But having said that, we're continuing to monitor numbers of student enrollment and projections in anticipation of what we might need for next year in light of those resignations, retirements, and also growth or things in buildings. So as a precautionary measure, we have put out postings for next school year for special ed, for elementary, for core subject areas, and we're going to be adding Spanish to that as well. Those won't have any specific buildings attached to them, but it will allow us to start getting some applicants in. So when we know where we're going to need them, then we can designate the different buildings for any potential vacancies. So just trying to get out in front of that, so that we are not missing out on the prime hiring season that we're in right now. now. Even though we're this far into the school year, we still have some vacancies that continue to pop up that I wanted to share, hopefully with anyone watching. We've got several aid positions. And what I want to mention is sometimes people think we're looking at full-time jobs or, have to commit to, 8 hours a day or even 6 hours a day. And we certainly have some of those positions, but we also have 2-hour-a-day positions, 1-hour-a-day positions for noon duties and those sorts of things. So if people are looking for even a very part-time job, we don't require a lot of training. We do a lot of on-the-job training for individuals or experience in those areas. So if people are interested in being special education assistants, English learner assistants, we certainly need those in our instructional realm. Our noon duties, we're still looking for, some GSRP assistants we continue to look for, and then we just had some unexpected vacancies in our food service department. So again, some of those are 6 and 8 hour a day positions for someone looking for full-time opportunities with our district. We continue to look for our bus drivers and aides all the time. That's one that continues to roll around. But other than that, we're sitting in a really good spot with our maintenance and custodial staff right now, but as we go into the summer months, we always get unanticipated resignations, retirements, and we'll continue to put those postings out there. So we encourage folks to watch our website for any of our vacancies, but also mention that we do our open interviews here that folks can just walk in and meet with a member of the HR team. And our next ones are next Wednesday, the 10th, here in the Boardman Administration Building, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. We will be transitioning post this next week over to the new administration building, but for next week, we will still have those interviews here. We are completing the process of selecting the replacement for the TC High vacancy and hope to share that with the board very soon. So we're pretty pleased about how that process has been going. So that's what I have for you for a staffing update. Absolutely. Next piece is mine too. That's our standing policy update. Last month, you should have received the 5,000 section, which is our curriculum instruction. It's probably the most detailed section for your review. Again, that process involved bringing together principals from the secondary level, elementary representatives, representatives from our curriculum instruction office. And we reviewed all of the policies and tried to select the options that currently reflect board policy or board practices, or district practices, I should say. And then I should also mention any of the policies that we've done significant customization on, we embedded those in the new policies as well. So those are out there for your review. The last section we have is the operations section. We kept that for last, as we know, because we had bond preparation, tax season, all of the things that have been really pressing on our maintenance, operations, and technology department this week in particular. So we'll be sitting down with representatives from that division, making those elections and getting you the last section. At that point, you will have all of the board draft recommended board policies for your review. Questions, I continue to ask if you have an opportunity to review them and get them in advance, because if we do them at a board meeting, the likelihood that I'm gonna know the answer sitting at a board meeting, I'd like to think I know a lot, but I certainly don't know everything that you may need to know about those policies. So I'd like to be able to reach out to the constituents who are directly affected by those policies to get the answers that you're looking for. So then we would make any final changes for all of you with the hope of rescinding the policies that are currently in place in either the June or July board meeting, and then adopting the new policies.
How far from now would you like to have where the questions come in?
Really, back December. So as,
Anytime, we would like
Yes,
to start getting that
absolutely.
from board members so we can start looking if there needs to be revisions, thoughts, or things to put together. So as you have those, we would like that to start getting now.
And what's the easiest way to do that?
Right
Would it
to
be
Connie.
just
directly
email
to
them
Connie?
right to me,
Okay.
yes, and I will reach out. So
and-
if it happens to involve a curriculum instruction
Yep,
issue that I
copy
don't know
this,
the
put
answer
that.
to, then I can confer and get them back to all of you.
Okay. Okay. And John, you don't want to be copied on those at all?
You
Just-
can, but totally, this is a project she's doing.
Yep.
She's done it before, and so I feel really good from that aspect. But if you copy me, that'd be great. But like I said, I'm not gonna respond, it's all her from
Okay.
that. If we get to a point where we have debate or whatever, then I'll get involved, but she'll let me know, but.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Perfect.
All right, any other questions for Connie's report? If not, we'll move on to communication update. Ginger Smith.
Thank you. Yeah, so the communications department is putting together somewhat of a timeline with a handful of different documents regarding factual pieces to cover the proposed bond millage. And so what we are looking at putting together would include some various videos to put out during different functions that are happening in our different buildings, as well as using on our social media and website. We're also looking at building out posters to have up around the district. Again, this would be just factual information with matching postcards. Those would have a similar look. We're also looking at doing a social media series. This would be kind of like a Did You Know series and could really utilize a lot of before photos and some after photos, meaning places around the district that have already seen improvements versus some areas that have not. An example could be like a boiler, showing one that's maybe like at central grade versus a boiler at our new Montessori building, things of that nature. We also have our Navigator going out soon. The Navigator, again, is the print version of a more elaborate newsletter. It will go out electronically to all of our families. However, will also be doing a hard copy mailing to a lot of our community residents who are not TCAPS families. So just to ensure that our community members do receive adequate information about all the great things happening in the district, and just to kind of keep them in line with all the things that are happening, and just to kind of highlight especially some of the items that were covered in our 2018 bond, and again, to just give them a heads up on the proposed bond millage happening in the summer. So with that, our team will be full speed ahead on making all these beautiful documents, and I will share them all with you as they are developed.
How often does the Navigator go out?
That is new, so we will see.
This will be our first one. And so, I kind of think, we originally when we talked about it probably as biannually, like maybe like a fall and a spring, maybe as kind of the thoughts, but we've kind of, it's a new foray. This has never been, here, and that, at least since I've been here, I don't know how long it's been. There's always kind of a debate of how much print, because sometimes maybe they just go to people they throw away or whatever, but so that's why we're trying a little bit of a target approach. We're digital to all those that we know we have access, but looking at especially some seniors in our community and some other folks that maybe don't have kids anymore, or that, to make sure that they're able to see a lot of the great things we have going on, or ways to maybe even participate, or activities, and we just want to spread that to make sure that really a large cross-section of our community knows what we're doing.
All right, thank you. All right,
Are you gonna have things like yard signs and? that
That's
kind of
something we
stuff?
can't do,
Okay,
because we
Good
can
to know.
only do informational items only. Now, there could be a citizens group or something that, would form or whatever, but that would be totally outside. That's nothing that's within what we can only do, informational only, facts, nothing that has anything to do with how to vote, support, don't support, anything like that by law. So, we can't.
but they do have some that say, ask me, I'm a TCAP supporter, ask me questions.
So-
But
Something
again,
like
we
that.
won't have that from the board, anything with support.
That's not that's not
Support is
ours.
not a word we can use, that we can print out there.
Okay,
Nope. So you could have TCAPs, ask me about TCAPs.
yeah, I'm sorry, that's what I meant.
Right,
yeah.
that's very different. So, but again, we're very, very going to be tight to the line of making sure that we do not break any finance, campaign laws, anything. And so we're going to be very much about an informational campaign from that standpoint, that will go out, anything paid for by the district. If there's a group out there that decides
Sure.
to do something else
Yeah,
from
I
that
hear
different,
you.
so be it. That's theirs to be able to do, and they would do that as outside citizens. Employees and stuff, can't do anything during school hours, no school email, anything like that. If they do something after hours or whatever on a deal with a group, that's their business. Everybody has a First Amendment right and all that kind of element, but, during school hours, and it's very, very much sticks to, our devices, our system, informational only.
Gotcha. All right. If there are no other questions or comments, our next executive committee meeting will be Thursday, May 2nd at 4 p.m. in this room, still continuing our meetings here at the Boardman Building. All right, thank you very much. We stand adjourned.